Hi, I'm Grumpy Meowster Consulting. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are diving into something a bit more philosophical, a mindset that has helped me both personally and professionally, maxing out your basics. You may have seen the thumbnail mentioning why I dig holes in Minecraft with stone tools and what it taught me about problem solving. It is not just a gimmick or a clickbait, at least this time. It is where I suddenly realized that the approach I've been applying for years at my work was the same as the simple and the minimalistic way I've been playing Minecraft. So the realization inspired me to make this video, as it helped me to recognize how focusing on the basics and making the most of them had shaped my work all along. Let's talk about it, shall we? Now, in the first part, I would like to use Minecraft as a metaphor. Well, literal metaphor, because I do play Minecraft, but the key idea here is to use what you have. Now, when I want to relax, I fire up Minecraft. If you've played it, you probably know that this is a game that rewards creativity and freedom. So when I play it, I don't always just follow the path that is typical for most of the players. Sometimes I just dig a hole straight to the bedrock, which is the deepest point in the game. Now, I don't just dig straight down, right? It would be dangerous and wouldn't probably get me very far before I would meet my inevitable end. But instead, I just methodically carve, let's say 5x5, sometimes 8x8, varies, depends on my mood, section of the ground, gradually working my way deeper and deeper into the earth. It is a repetitive, almost meditative task that helps me think. Some might call it shower thoughts, but with a pickaxe in hand rather than with water. Now, it may sound simple, but it's an approach that reflects how I tackle projects in real life too. Now, there's something about the precision and methodical progression that makes it feel like a small-scale project, even if it's just a video game. Now, here's the thing. Here's the core thing of my thoughts. In Minecraft, players usually rush to upgrade their tools, and we will be talking about tools a lot in this video. Now, in the video game, it is usually wood to stone, stone to iron, iron to diamond, etc. But what if you just want to dig a hole? Nothing else. Then you realize that the stone tools are usually enough. I don't need iron or diamond necessarily. Now, would it be more effective to carve out my way with diamond pickaxe? Naturally, but diamond has durability as well, it wears off, diamonds are rare, etc. And chasing for all those resources to make better tools would be actually waste of time in matter of just digging a hole. So I would have to stop, I would have to go mining, I would have to smelt ore, maybe I would get distracted. Meanwhile, with stone, which is a resource that can be found everywhere, I can get the job done and can be focusing on my project. My project in this case is digging a hole. I have been doing this for ages simply because I didn't want to care about the hustle of getting different resources, etc. And once when I was fooling around like this, that's when it hit me. Sometimes the most efficient solution is using the simplest tools that you already have in a smart way. So, maxing out your basics as a work philosophy. Now, while I've spent some time messing around in the virtual world, I've also been helping people build a streamline in their tech solutions in the real world too. I've done this kind of work for a while now, during my 14 years of career, officially as a consultant, officially as that guy who you ask when you are ready to stop wasting your time. And that Minecraft habit, it is a mindset, really. And I use this mindset in my professional life as well. But in Minecraft, it was when it hit me, when I realized what I'm actually doing. Because I never was in the position of somebody who can just go and buy the new tools, or hire an experts. I was a person who was supposed to work with what they have, because usually when you are working for a corporation or a similar organization, be it government, be it private sector, and you are not in a specifically management position, you are not the one who is deciding what new tools or what new experts are going to be hired. So when you need to do anything, literally anything, you need to rely on what you have, or you need to request your manager and then wait before this gets validated, etc., which is not always the fastest solution. And often just by the power of sheer spite, I overcame problems that should not be overcome with the tools that I have, but I did it regardless, because if you can come up with a clever workaround, then you suddenly solve the problem without needing new tools or needing the outside expert opinion, so to speak. So this idea of maxing out your basics, you can apply this idea on two levels, personal and organizational. Now, let me give you an example from my work. In one of my previous jobs, I had to create complex reports every month using sensitive Excel data. And I found out that, well, at first I was just typing it in, one table at a time, and it took me around 3 business days because it was a lot of hard work, not really innovative, etc. But over time I refined my approach, not by buying a new software or hiring an extra help, but simply by maxing out what I already had. I learned how to use Excel more efficiently. I learned how to use a couple of new formulas, how to work with the cells for that specific scenario. Connected other tools and workflows that I understood, utilized even like simple things, folder management. And eventually I brought that 3-day task down to less than 1 business day. Same tools, just a smarter usage. These weren't flashy solutions, nothing like super big, and it wasn't like something that I developed. It was just the methodology of my work, and why methodology is important is what I addressed in my knowledge base video, and I will probably go back to this in the future as well, because methodology is always above everything else, at least in my mindset, because new softwares can be written, new software can be bought, new tools can be bought, but the methodology is something you just need to figure out. So that's why it is so effective if you actually take time and figure this out. So again, this wasn't some flashy solution. I didn't build anything revolutionary. I just understood my environment deeply, and that's what allowed me and enabled me to build a personal solution that worked. Now, such solutions may be often hard to share. Such know-how for a specific problem is tailored exactly for that problem and at hand, and it is custom solution, and the results were here, effective, elegant, and most importantly, all done by me and my simple tools. In Minecraft analogy, it would be my stone tools, right? I had those stones at my disposal. I didn't need anything else. Sometimes these basic solutions will work, sometimes they won't. As I mentioned, this know-how can be, in specific circumstances, hard to share because it relies heavily on the user that is developing those solutions. So maybe they are too personal to share. And I don't mean that those are some sort of intimate manner or whatever, stop laughing, your 12-year-old brains, but rather in a sense of understanding of a delicate sorting of data, muscle memory, and style of work that comes out from person using such solution. And it will differ greatly from user to user, but not always. This is not always the case. Another example from my work, as I was working with a project management tool, and that this project management tool didn't have the proper contact records. Basically, they were using just a user and a couple of credentials to differentiate one user from another, which is fine if you take it as an entity that needs to log in into the system, but it is less fine if you are trying to use this entity for having more information safe on their card, for example, for support level usage, etc. Instead, what would a lot of people do, and that would be like suggesting help desk solution, or new help desk tool, I realized that I could expand the user entity using built-in custom tables. And I did that. And now suddenly I realized that we got everything we needed without spending a cent on a new software, which is kind of revolutionary if you think about this, for that small company at a time. At this time, it was scalable and shareable, right? I've done something and I could retrace my steps. It wasn't too hard once you've seen the solution. So I could easily pass this structure to colleagues and customers. The very same concept we later applied for categorizing the support tickets in the same software, etc. So you don't always need a new tool. You just need to unlock the full potential of the tools that you already have, if possible. Sometimes you might find that such basics do not work. Now, what I would say could be two instances of this. So the first instance would be implicitly, you just know it won't work. Now, if we marginalize this and look at a very simple example, you have 2 legs, 2 hands, heavy box, and you need to deliver this box to another city. You know that carrying that box yourself wouldn't be very smart, especially if you have only 2 legs for transport and you don't have any car. So you see this implicitly, that it is probably best solution to just hire a moving company that will carry this box for you, right? Or delivery company, whatever you would call them. How did you come up with such conclusion? Well, you analyze the problem. You only have 2 legs, 2 hands, and package needs to be delivered into another city. Now, while this is very simple example, it showcases the implicit inability to fulfill the task at hand with what you have. Now, the last implicit could be in a way that you don't know if you can make it or cannot make it with the tools that you have in the problem. That's where the analysis comes in place. But you should always analyze the problem before reaching for the new tools. That analysis doesn't need to take you a lot of time. It can be done quickly. It can be done just step outside, take a break, think about it for a little while. And if you don't come up with any possibility that you could solve this with what you have, then it is probably a good idea to start searching external solutions. But you should always do the analysis first if there isn't something that you can overcome such a task with. Now, this mindset, as I stated before, applies at the company level too. Now, if your organization is looking at a new reporting software, for example, you should ask yourself, can we already do this with what you have? Do your employees already have tools like Excel or a system with unused reporting modules? If they do, maybe it is smarter to go deeper into those tools that you already have rather than just rushing to implement new ones. Now, there are many reasons why you shouldn't implement new solutions just out of the blue. Now, implementation of new tools, it takes time and it takes money. Licensing, onboarding, training, and my favorite, especially in government sector, is that people do not like change, especially in environments that value stability over innovation. If your employees are already trained in one tool, and that tool is flexible enough, it might be better to optimize it rather than overcomplicate things. Because if your employees are going to reject the new tools, and be grumpy and be loud and straight out reject this, you will have, even as an employer, you will have hard time to convince them that the new tool is actually good. And such implementation, due to this very simple fact, can then simply prolong for a couple of months. And I've even seen cases where it took years to convince some of the quote-unquote dinosaurs in the company that our tool that we are implementing is actually better than doing reporting in Excel. That's the real case scenario, by the way. I'm not making this up. Now, whenever you are looking for a solution to a problem, especially something personal or workflow related, it is natural to go searching for tools or software that seems like a perfect fit. And in many cases, you will find something useful, often quicker than in the instance that you would be able to solve this with the tools that you already have, because finding for a ready-to-go solution is always easier. But there is this trap that often appears that you should be always wary. A lot of people, once they spot a promising solution, immediately go and reach out. Maybe contacting the company directly, maybe skipping a proper evaluation, which is very common in private sector, not so much in government sector because selection procedures, etc. Instead of jumping into trial or demo, who is the first person you're gonna get in contact with once you are searching for a solution? It's a sales representative. Now, I do not hate sales representative, despite what you might think because you saw my last video, right? Some of them are generally nice people, but let's be honest. Their job is to sell. That's it. That's their entire role in the first contact. So what happens? They will likely emphasize all the strengths of the product that they are selling, sometimes to the point of exaggeration, and downplay or completely skip over its weaknesses. I'm not saying they will lie outright, but it's very common for drawbacks to be glossed over. Meanwhile, the features you don't need might be sold to you like they're revolutionary. This is the sales pitch trap. You get caught up in their vision of the product and suddenly it seems like a magic fix for everything, but that is rarely true, right? It might help, sure, but only if it actually fits your context, if it is implemented properly. So that's why you should always ask for a demo first, always dig into real user reviews, and most importantly, analyze your problem through the lens we just talked about first before you ever talk to the sales team. Because if you don't understand what you actually need, you're letting someone else define such solution for you. And trust me, sales guys are great at this. These are some advantages of applying this mindset. But you should always be also wary that problem solvers can fall into a trap. Now, on a personal level, this mindset is trickier, while on organizational level, you can measure things with money, with value, with resources, with time, and sometimes you can just logically conclude if it is good or it is not a good idea to buy a new tool and implement it. But on personal level, it is not always about money. It is about pride, it is about independence, and sometimes simply about stubbornness. Now, in my experience as a consultant, I've met two types of people. Those who look outward for help on the first sign of trouble, and those who insist on solving everything on their own. I call the second group the problem solvers. I admire them. Sometimes I'm counting myself into that group as well. But oftentimes I've seen these people to overdo it, trying to solve everything themselves, even when it is not the best approach. The trick is knowing when your basic tools are enough and when they are not. As I said, the implicit no should be just bypassed already, even if you hate asking for help, for example. This mindset is not about avoiding the new tools forever. It's about mastering what you already have before reaching out for more. This is important. You should analyze what you have and consider if this is enough to overcome the problem that lies before you before you reach out. Reaching out is always easier. Doesn't mean it is always effective, doesn't mean it is always the most efficient solution. So again, this isn't about cutting corners or avoiding improvements. It is about being deliberate, about asking whether a new tool is truly necessary or if it is just a distraction. If you're only going to use like 20% of capabilities of the new tool, then maybe there's a smarter path with what you already own and, more importantly, what you already know. Now, of course, this approach requires certain mindset. So in my experience, and I'm going to repeat this, there are generally two types of people. Like type A, the basically hard workers, which is not necessarily flattering statement. They do what they are told, which is fine, but they follow existing processes. They are dependable and hardworking, but they don't usually ask questions. They don't usually question the tools or rethinking the workflow. They just always reach out if there is any sign of trouble. They're quick to ask for help, suggest new tools, or escalate problems. Sometimes this might lead to real solutions, but other times it's just slowing things down and bloating the costs. Either way, this mindset always needs an external factor whenever you try to improve any sort of process. And this is important. While these people are reliable, they will never push your organization forward. They will keep it stable. The business as usual. Now the type B, again, the problem solvers. These people dislike relying on others or introducing new systems unless it is absolutely necessary. Sometimes because they're introverts, sometimes because they have a huge ego. There are various factors to this, but the fact is that these people tend to give those problems a couple of days and trying to find workarounds, trying different combinations, trial error sometimes just logical solutions of what they already know. And sometimes they deliver elegant solution, something simple, effective, and already within reach. It is saving resources. These solutions used to be elegant and very simple, and if they can be passed over as a know-how to other employees, it will push your company forward. The downside, they might spend too much time trying to force a solution with what you already have without asking for help, because they hate asking for help, and they might dig too deep, pun intended, because Minecraft, digging too deep. But no, seriously, when better tool would actually solve the problem already. So what is the point about describing these two types of people? The point is to find a balance, knowing when to optimize what you have, and when you have to admit that you hit a wall and you need an external help, be it consultation, be it new tool, or maybe hiring an extra hand. Often, people skip the first step and just reaching to the external help without trying to analyze and utilize what you already have. Well, the truth is, they've never even tried to get the most out of the tools that you have at your disposal. I think we can wrap the things here. I've given a couple of examples. As I said, this has been a little bit more theoretical level than the practical one. So the next time you are facing a problem, be it in Minecraft, at work, or in your personal projects, just take a step back and ask yourself, did I already try everything that I have at my disposal? Did I max out my basics? Because you might be surprised what you can accomplish with just a stone pickaxe, like digging a huge hole straight down to bedrock, right? So if anything that I said made you think, wait, that's me, great. That means I might be able to help. So feel free to leave a comment or share your own experience. I'll try to reply to everything. And if you're seriously stuck or need a proper consultation, you can reach me at the email in my description. Stay sharp, stay curious, and keep building solutions with what you have before you reach for external help. Thanks for watching.